Hi, everyone. Welcome to the E4 Youth Virtual Talk today. My name is Jaleisha, and I am a digital docent for E4 Youth, and I'm also a double major at the University of Texas in journalism and communications and leadership. And today I'll be hosting the E4 Youth Virtual Talk. And so for today's talk, we'll be talking to Marissa Quintans. She is a native Austinite. Marissa has been working with boutique creative agencies for the past 20 years. She's been around all aspects of the creative process, from graphic design to commercial and film, video production to strategy to copywriting, marketing, website development, and so on. And having started out as a project coordinator, she's familiar with all aspects of the creative process and knows what it takes to bring a project together. For the past 10 years, she's been helping out with Guerilla Suite, building a creative culture that thrives on bringing proactive and ambitious ideas to life. So I'd like to welcome to the stage Marissa.
Hi, how's it going?
Hi. How are you?
I'm doing okay. How are you?
I'm doing all right. It's Thursday. I'm ready for the weekend. Sort of.
Right?
Where to go.
And at home, another one.
Basically. But just to start off, could you sort of explain to us like what is your job? Like what do you do?
My job is operations and human resources. And it's probably, it's a small company, so it's not in the traditional sense of human resources or operations. It's everything from invoicing and billing to office management, like computer setups, onboarding new people, interviews, hiring. I also work with our account team to kind of work on scopes for clients and get the contracts done and produced. I also help set the pricing, kind of help with our services, and then just all kinds of stuff.
Set the pricing for what?
What's that?
I said set the pricing for what exactly?
Oh, for like our work. So we kind of figure out what to charge our clients and how to charge them and things like that. So we, make sure that meets with what our expenses are, so that we're not so that we're able to keep some money and invest in the company and keep growing instead of just kind of like burning through everything. So, yeah.
For sure. And I think that's awesome, what you're doing. And I think it's like really like awesome for people to see like where you are now. But I think as it relates to the students, I think it's essential to sort of look back on like how you came to this path, and sort of how you got here.
Sure.
So just to start off, like tell us like how you were like as a teenager, like what type of stuff were you into,
Gosh, that was a long time ago. As a teenager, I was pretty shy. I kind of kept to myself. I went to a pretty big high school here in Austin, and I had trouble fitting in, just because I didn't really, I was just kind of like discovering who I was as a teenager. So, I kept to myself, kept to my family. I had a few close friends, tried not to get into too much trouble, but I wasn't, I was really focused on my work and like school and stuff like that, because I didn't really have like a musical interest or any kind of extracurricular stuff. So yeah, I just was kind of like a bookworm. Well,
Hey,
yeah,
I relate.
yeah.
I mean, so how did you discover your passions then?
Well, it was in school. So in high school, I was with this group, and we had an opportunity to visit UT campus and actually sit in on some classes for the day. Like they gave us a schedule, and we kind of went around and found the classes ourselves. So that was really really cool, interesting experience for me because I didn't know what it was like to be on a college campus. Um, and so one of the classes I ended up picking was in the radio, television, and film department. And I was just blown away. I had no idea that you could go to school for that. Um, I thought college was lawyers, doctors, accountants, like
Yeah.
business. I had no idea that was an option other than art school, and I wasn't an actual artist. So I was like, okay, well, this is probably something I can do. So that really kind of opened my eyes to that kind of possibility. And I don't know what I would have done if I hadn't have discovered that. I'm lucky to have done that at a young age, I feel like.
Yeah. And that's sort of like goes into like what E4 is about as well. It's like
Yeah.
you sort of like making sure that like high schoolers are like aware of like creative jobs because I didn't even know. Well, I knew a little bit in high school, but I didn't know like as much. Like I didn't even know like about your job. You know,
Sure.
oh, there's somebody who has to do all of that. Like, you know,
There's people that have to do the work and be creative, but a lot of times they don't have the same kind of, skills to run the business and kind of just keep things flowing. So I'm here to support and help, and luckily I get to participate in some of the creative stuff that we do. That's why I love working for Guerilla Suit. But yeah, I just like being around creative people and the clients and the process and the brands. It's really exciting for me. And again, like I didn't know there were so many different types of things in creative avenues. I thought, well, it's film and then commercials, but there's all kinds of opportunities and jobs for creative people, and it's awesome.
yeah. And Karen wants to know, what does Gorilla Suit do?
Hi, Karen. Um, We are a branding agency, so we work with new brands or existing brands, and we do a little bit of strategy and positioning and stuff like that, but our focus really has been on the visual aspect of the brand. So we'll kind of work with our clients and figure out what kind of perception they want to put out there, and then the designers here kind of work on what that looks like visually. So, we'll go through a set of mood boards, kind of just showing the vibe with like existing photos that we find and trying to get a feel for what direction they want to go. And then we'll get closer and closer to actually creating a brand new logo and look for them. And then, that goes into not only their logo, but probably their website, their whole identity system. Like we pick colors that they can use, we pick fonts that they use, we set up templates for their ads or their email blasts or their presentations that they do. So there's a lot of work involved in that kind of stuff and keeping it going. A lot more than you would think.
For sure. For sure, for sure. And then like just before we get into all that, did you have like any mentors along the way that sort of like helped you get to this point?
Um, yeah, I did. I didn't, again, like I was shy. I've kind of always been a little shy. So I didn't really seek that out. I probably should have. I just didn't feel like it was my place to do that. But I have worked with some really smart, really talented people over the past 10 years. And I'm just like watching what they're doing. I do ask them questions from time to time. I'm more comfortable asking for advice now, which I would recommend you do much, much earlier. And then, yeah, I mean, no one's specific. I think a lot of the stuff that I've learned has kind of been trial by fire. I just was decided that this is what I wanted to do, so I was going to figure out how to do it, and I made a lot of mistakes along the way, and nothing too terrible. I'm still here. I'm still working. So yeah.
Yeah, it'd be like that sometimes. And so I don't know. So you sort of did all that, and then you got to Gorilla Suit. Can you show us like any like examples of like the work that you guys have done?
Yeah, I've got a couple of things. I was a little worried because a lot of our clients lately have been in like the beer and alcohol category, but I think I've got some other stuff that I can show you. So I'll go ahead and share my screen, and then let me know if you can see that.
We can see it.
Okay. So this is Pearl Brewery. They're out in San Antonio, and this was kind of like a company that we worked with in the first like 5 to 8 years that we were a studio. And so here you can kind of see like they kind of had an existing logo, this Pearl logo, and we just kind of had to update it and then bring it to life. So, these are a few things that we do to kind of, expand the brand. We, business cards and paper systems. There's photography involved. They started out as like one or two little places, and now the campus is really big, and so we had to update this map all the time. And let's see, sorry, my screen's not loading. And then we would present guides and kind of there's a lot of editorial layout here where we have to kind of highlight the restaurants and the shops and everything that are in there. This screen right here is kind of a collection of banners and web assets that we had done over that period of time. And there's an example of a print ads and show posters for some of the events they used to do. They would have outdoor screenings in the park, and created these posters for them.
What
they also participated
into making those posters?
Oh man, well, I think that is probably a talk for one of the designers to specifically go through that with you. But they would come up and tell us that they had these shows that they were doing, and I guess like this car one has got Blues Brothers and Thelma and Louise, so we kind of went with the car theme, and the lead designer there had that palette to work with, and just kind of put all that stuff together. I'm hoping to get some of our designers to come in and actually talk to you guys so they can talk you through that creative process specifically. Because again, that ain't my bag.
Be like that.
So yeah, they had participated in Pearl, and we did their website and their mobile. So a few things like that. And I guess one of the other things that I wanted to show you that I particularly like and I think is really interesting is sorry, my computer is slow. Some of this work we've done for Carbach Brewing Company in Houston. They had us work on one of their beers called Love Street, and this was really fun because they already had the can designed and the brand. This was early on, but they asked us to make a commercial and like a campaign for them. And we went all out with these illustrations. And here's an example of like the process. So storyboards, kind of drawing out each scene, and then from there we kind of take that into the computer and do it digitally. And we had an animator and all kinds of help. But
these are really nice.
Yeah, sketches. I like the way that this kind of shows our process more so than some of the work on our website. And if you have time later, you can go check out the spots they're continually running on that. But yeah, that's like a few things we do. Those are existing brands, and then we worked on brands from scratch as well, like restaurants and music festivals and all kinds of stuff. So
Mm-hmm.
um, yeah, it's all there for your viewing pleasure on our website whenever you guys have time.
Dang, that's actually like super cool. That's super cool. And then like as you mentioned like before, like you are sort of like the head of like sort of like, managing like the teams. So I just want to know like how do you like manage your team and how that changed during quarantine?
It's been difficult, but not too bad. Actually, a lot better than I thought. We're a kind of a really tight knit group. We collaborate a lot. We have like boards all over the studio. People walk over to each other's desks all the time, and
Mhm.
kind of we always have multiple projects going on. So if you're in the room it's an open studio. So if you're in the room and you can hear somebody talking about something else, you're kind of exposed to everything that's going on, and that's changed a lot since we're now all working from home. But we use things like Slack and Basecamp, to help the daily communications, and then we also, do our daily check-in. So we see each other every day. Everybody calls in the morning, first thing to get started, so we know what is on everybody's plate. And that's kind of how we've done it before. We just have to do it not in person now. So
Yeah, makes sense. Makes sense.
yeah, we've managed. It's not. I mean, I feel like everybody misses being around each other, and like that's the hardest part. We can do the work, but
Mm-hmm.
there's something about the energy you get um, being in the same room with people.
For sure. And like, how do you manage like creatives to sort of like get their work done in like crunch time?
Well, some people really like working under pressure and crunch time, and they can really do some great things. But
Mhm.
that's where our account team comes in, and our project managers. They do everything they can to space things out, buy them time, so they're not having to do a bunch of things last minute. There's always uh, some kind of fire to put out. Almost every day there's some kind of something that's missing, some client needs something. So
Mhm.
with even the best planning, it's still really hard. So then we just prioritize things differently and ask, to put something on hold. And then if we have to, like, we're working on a really big project and people are here late at night or over the weekend and stuff like that, we'll kind of just let them know that, like, after we get through this, you'll have some extra time off, and or we'll treat them to something just so that they can, and acknowledge the work that they're doing in front of the team and in front of the clients, so that they feel appreciated and recognized too.
I mean, but how do you look for like people, that you want to work on your team? Because I guess like you said, like some people like work like really good on like crunch time. Other people may like find like anxiety in that. So like, how do you like pick your team?
Um, yeah, that's a really good question. We're a small group, and we'll probably only end up being around 15 to 20 people max anyway. Um, so fit is really important, and when we're looking for people that not only are talented, but are flexible. That wouldn't panic in any kind of situation. And we just like to be open and talking to everybody about that kind of stuff, like what you're comfortable. Like, I've got a few people where we were talking about reopening the office for a little bit and letting people come back and start working in here. And some people reached out to me and said they were not ready, and I said, hey, that's fine. We'll just uh, you know figure out how to do a combo of those and work together. And um, yeah, I mean, that's just one of the things that we ask in the interview process, to get a feel for.
What does the interview process sort of like look like in like the creative field? Are you looking for like people who fit like the company's culture, or is it more about like their work design?
It's got to be both, ideally, because again, like I said, we're small. So like if you have somebody that's super talented, but an egomaniac, like that's not going to work here. So you have to kind of balance that out as best you can and suss that out. So, we have a lot of people reach out to us. We collect all those and we look at the work. Um, we don't have too much of a high turnover. So getting on the team is a little bit difficult here. Um, but I feel like that's where our internship program really helps. That way, we're able to kind of work with a bunch of uh, people that are just starting out their careers, and like we'll try to give them advice on their resumes and their portfolios, and give them actual work that they can produce and do, so they can take something with them when the internship is over. But yeah, I mean, we'll look. We'll post on our website. We'll look. I have relationships with different schools in the area, also outside of the area. So anywhere we can find the talent, and I'm kind of excited because usually we pull from people in Austin, but maybe we can start to, since we're working remotely, we could look a little bit further out and try that. So.
For sure. I mean, in doing all this, it sounds like a lot. I mean, like, how do you like manage like your work life balance? Like, how do you do both?
Very carefully. It's actually, I think one of the things that I like most about working at Guerilla Suit is the flexibility and the responsibility. So the managers and the owners, partners, they really kind of trust and enable people to really do the work. Like we don't have to just sit here and be here because it's office time, or like if we've got a big project, we're expected to come in and work until that project is done. But if we don't have a lot going on, we can, maybe take it easy a little bit. So that kind of helps, that flexibility. I think one of the reasons that I switched from project management and dealing directly with clients, because some clients like to call you anytime. And I decided about 10 years ago to start a family. So I made that shift from project management to kind of more of operations type stuff. So that was able to help me. And I've been really fortunate. My team is pretty flexible with me and understanding that those are kinds of things that I need to take care of, and I'm the same way with them. So it's like mutual respect. I'm not going to let anybody down, and I don't think anybody else on my team would slack off in that manner to let the rest of us fail.
Right. Makes sense. Makes sense. I mean, and so especially like right now, like is talking about like work life balance. Like how does like your company like sort of like handle like COVID-19 safety and things like that? I heard you said that you were talking about like reopening or going back in. Like how like do you make decisions like that, or like what does that process look like?
Um, it's a lot because things are changing and nobody really knows what is happening. The information that comes out is different. It seems like day to day and updated. Um, so, we decide to put some like health and safety in the first and foremost. And then, yeah, just with all the tools that people have these days, like Zoom and Dropbox and all of your software is online. Just making sure they're set up at home with the right equipment, and then making a plan to come back, and again being flexible. Like if I had planned on having people start coming back to the office, but I had to say, hey, that's not going to happen. We need to wait a little bit longer. Bear with me, and we'll just the open communication, I feel like, is really, really important with your team.
For sure, for sure. And then like also just like talking about like like things that are happening right now. Like how do you guys like make sure that like you're providing like a safe space for like people of color? You know.
Yeah, that's a great question. I feel like we are really like a close knit group.
Right.
We're very welcoming. You know, I don't I don't think that we're uh, necessarily doing anything like specific. I mean, we have things like this is one of the things that we're doing and want to do more of, and being more involved in the community. Like, so we are in East Austin. We're neighboring this neighborhood called Six Square. So, and that those guys are into preservation of arts and culture, and so that's something that we support and we get behind, and we'll be more involved in going forward. And you know, I think just being open. Everybody here is welcoming, open, and yeah. Sorry, that one.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and then I remember you talking about that you guys have an internship program.
Mhm.
How does that work, and do you hire regularly for that?
We do. So we hire every semester. We have a spring, summer, and fall group, and we'll post on our website, and then we'll reach out to some schools and just kind of let them know. A lot of times, it's just people come from our websites and our social postings. So yeah, we'll collect about we get about like 100 to 75 applicants, and we can only pick two. So it's really a really hard decision. But we go through things like, what does their work look like? Where are they available? Those kinds of things that we look for. And then we bring I actually bring a few in if they can come in, or we'll do a phone call, and we'll talk about their work specifically and their goals, what kinds of things they're wanting to get out of the internship, and then we talk about some of the stuff that we try to provide for the students and they're not always students. Sometimes we get um, people that have graduated, they're switching careers, or they've been out of school for a long time, um, and they just haven't had the right opportunity. So we're open to all kinds of uh, people coming in.
Hmm. And like, what kind of like work could be expected of an intern to do?
They're working on all the projects. They're in staff meetings with us. They're on the list of daily deliverables. So we'll we have a meeting every morning, and every we go through the list of what we're doing. They have to like let us know what they're working on, what they finished, what they want to help with. We try to do other, let them sit in on client meetings and presentations when the timing is right and when it's possible. We'll take them to print shops and do workshops there where so they can see the process of like getting a can made. Well, there's no can printers here in Austin, but like getting stickers or letterhead or packaging or any kind of thing that we're doing physically at the printing press. We'll take them along with us, and so they've done some really great work around here that's actually on our website and actually in our portfolio. So
That's awesome. Do
yeah.
y'all pay y'all interns or?
What's that?
I said, do y'all pay y'all interns or what kind of internship?
Yeah, no, we pay our interns, and we've paid them for a long time. So
That's cool.
yeah.
And so, do y'all usually hire like? Well, I know you said that it's not like just grads, but it's other people too. But like when you say students, do you mean just like college students, or like if, it doesn't matter like if they have like a degree or not, or if they're in like the field?
Yeah, no, I mean, it just depends on kind of like their work that they have. Like if you didn't go to school for that, but you have like illustrations or logo pieces that you've done and you can share that with us, then that's easier. I mean, I feel like there are a lot of opportunities for us to grow, still continue to grow our internship program. Like
Mhm.
we don't, I mean, we've been focused on graphic design. Um, and not really kind of like the account side or you
Mhm.
know the social media side. But again, we don't do a lot of social media and we're visually focused. So um, I think it's a pretty good experience for people to figure out what it's like to work in a small agency
Mhm.
and what it's like to kind of be on a team because there's a lot of collaboration and a lot of guidance there too.
And does it matter if the work they show is published or not?
No, mm-mm. No, a lot of time it's makeup works, student projects and stuff like that. So yeah, we're open to all kinds of different types of portfolios. I just it's just the way that there's a lot. It's not only the work. It's like how
Mhm.
you respond to the email that we're asking you to come in. Is it, or when you're submitting your resume, are you just like attaching some stuff
Mhm.
to the email, or are you kind of letting me know what hey, I heard about you. I saw your internship. Here's my stuff, and then a response back after because I try to do as much as I can to reach out and contact everybody and say, hey, we got your stuff. I'll be in touch. And sometimes I don't hear from anybody ever, and I'm like, oh, okay, well, okay, that's fine.
Great.
Yeah. So
Mhm.
I've had a lot of people send in actual like mail-in stuff, and that's always really eye-catching uh,
Mhm.
and interesting. Like they'll have photos, they'll like put together a photography package and mail it in. But that's also not necessary. It's just a different approach. So find out what kind of works for you and what's unique to you, and then go from there.
For sure. And also just to note, we're about to enter like Q&A session. So if you have any questions, like go ahead and send those in right now, and we'll start answering those. But before we do that, can you sort of talk about, like how like the education is in the industry overall? I know you like worked here for like 20 years. So sort of like, I don't know, do most people like have degrees for this work, or is it, can people do it without a degree?
I've seen both. I think there are quite a few programs that focus on that, and those, you know, um, I don't know like how accessible they are for everybody, but
Mhm.
um, you know, that's one of the things that I'm actually learning about right now. So, a lot of students, they are students, they do have work. Some people don't. But oh, I'm sorry, I like lost my train of thought.
You're good.
What was that question again?
Oh, I was just asking about like what does like the education like department look like?
Oh,
See.
yeah. Well, yeah, the different schools focus on different things. I feel like Texas State, we get a lot of applicants from that school, and they have a really strong UX UI program,
Mhm.
a lot of development and web designers there. Also, really strong graphic designers, and they focus on that. UT's kind of always, I feel like, lumped their art direction and advertising and art and kind of like not really made a clear path for something like graphic design.
Mhm.
And then there's like the Savannah School of College of Design that's got that's all they focus on, and that's they've got really strong, talented people out of there. So,
Mhm.
um, but we've gotten ACC has a great program, and I've got good connections with the team that runs the art department over there. So I always reach out to them and ask them if they've got any interesting students that they think might be interested. And I ask them to post our stuff on their our internship postings on their job pages too.
For sure. So there's not any degree requirements to work for you.
No.
That's tea. And so like what advice and so our first question, I cannot say the name, but they said, "Hi there, aspiring users research and product designer here. What does Guerilla Suite research process look like, and how does your team validate the creative concepts?"
Oh, that's a great question.
Yeah.
Um, we have a process that we've developed over the past years. I will say that early on, there wasn't much of a process. So as we've grown the team and grown people, we've had brand strategists come on. We hire a lot of strategists freelance too. That the same goes with kind of the copywriters that we work with or the video editors. We just have a team of people around us, and then we have like a core creative team here. But for the research, like we, it just depends on what the product is and what the project is. We've done focus groups. We don't um, rely on them too heavily, but have had to do that before in the past. We've also most of the stuff that we do for research is kind of comps, comparing what the market is like. Do we have any competition? What are their strengths and weaknesses? Where does our brand fall in that? How can we differentiate from that? And we kind of put that all together into a presentation and a positioning document. And then we refer to that as we go through the design process. So are we checking off all the things that we said that this brand was supposed to do in the visual designs and in the campaign or whatever it is we're doing?
Yeah, for sure. For sure, for sure. And then the next question is, do you have any like advice for like young creatives who are trying to get into the creative field?
Advice for people that are trying to get into the creative field: um, keep trying, don't give up. Keep working, keep making work. Like, experiment. Uh, Try to be exposed to as much work as you can. There's like stuff on Dribble, there's stuff on Facebook, there's stuff all over the place for you to look at and reference. And not just to try to copy, but practice. Ask if you're still learning and you're interested. You could ask, your friend or a family member that they're trying to start a business or whatever. Can I help you? Like, let me practice what this is like, and just keep going for it.
What is dribble?
Dribble is like a uh, website that's got all the work from designers. So if you're a designer, you sign up for an account on Dribble and you post your work. So, and that's really taking the focus off of like the company you work for or the clients that you work for, and focusing it on you as a designer. So you can put whatever you want, like stuff that you do for your friends. You can do client work. You can do work that didn't make it. It's really fascinating, and there's a lot of stuff on there. So if you haven't checked that out, I would do so.
So it's sort of like LinkedIn, but for creatives.
Yeah, well, and for designers specifically, yeah, it's
Mhm.
a lot of graphics, a lot of logos, a lot of t-shirts and merch and stuff like that.
I see. I mean, do you guys check LinkedIn too?
Yeah, I will. When a lot of times people send their LinkedIn when they send in their resume, or it's on their website already, and so that's the stuff that I feel like as the ops person I'm more interested in. The
Mm-hmm.
creatives focus on kind of what the look is, and so we work together when we're figuring out who would be a good fit for the company.
Yeah, and our next question is, how do you find clients, or do they usually just reach out to you?
um, Yeah, we have been pretty fortunate and just kind of built our work over the past 10 years. And before COVID, all of our work was coming just in from our website. Like, I saw you on this, I saw you in here. Um, what what can we do? How can we work together? Um, but things are different now, so people aren't coming to our website at the moment, and we're trying to refocus our energy and figure out which avenues we can use to kind of go out there and get some new work. But a lot of it is word of mouth. One of the partners here, the owner, the co-founder of the company, James Moody, he is an entrepreneur, and he just is out there talking to people, networking all the time. And so at the beginning, and even so now, he's still bringing in a lot of work. That's just talking to people and you know hearing what their ideas are. How can we help you? Let's talk. Let me bring you into the studio, and we'll go from there. So
Mm-hmm.
it's a lot of work. It's a kind of like a hustle.
Yeah, you ain't never lie. You gotta hustle. I mean, and so what was your first creative gig? Like, how did you get that, for the company?
Um, well, my first gig was a internship at a production company,
Mm-hmm.
and again, I graduated, went to school for film, and so I thought I was going to be making commercials and movies and documentaries, things like that. And there was this small production company that had an opening for an internship as a PA, and I basically like ran around and got drinks and coffee for people, and you know learned a lot on. I got to be on set. Got to learn how long those days actually were, and um, all the steps that went into it, because we had people that were shooting all of the stuff, and then we also had people at the company that were editing and post, and so I got to see the process from front to beginning. And that company had a small group of designers in there, and that's where I was kind of exposed to design and that kind of field, and that just made a better fit for me personally. Um, I don't know how long I would have lasted uh, on a movie set or multiple movie sets over time. It's a lot of work. Um,
For sure. And then how did you grow from like, being a creative, like in your leadership style, into being like a director of operations? Like, how does that transition look like?
um, well, it's a long transition for me. It was over 20 years. So each step, like I just keep, I take what I learn and I just keep adding it
Mhm.
and to new things. And I think I finally, in like the past, I want to say like 5 years, gotten to a place where I can start to focus more on like bigger picture stuff, which is more interesting. So it's really great because it feels like I can still learn. I still have a lot to learn. I still have a lot of growing to do. And there's a lot of stuff that, we need to work on. I need to work on personally, and as an employee also. There's a lot of stuff that I could feel like I could do for this company still to make it even better.
For sure. And do you have like any pet peeves about like folks that apply?
Mhm.
What are your top three do's and don'ts?
I feel like my number one is like I don't know what to do with two attachments and no words. Like just let me know what this is for. Um, and I think the follow up is really key too for me. Like, it doesn't have to be paragraphs or anything, but just kind of acknowledgement, like, oh yeah, I got that. That's great. I'm looking forward to it. Short and sweet. Um, it's I understand how hard it is to like make yourself um, kind of stand out against everybody else that you're up against for that position.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but a lot of times, I mean, I'm imagine that large companies use kind of some kind of automated system. So I don't even know if people are actually reading all of the stuff that you're typing, but making sure that you keep it succinct and short and interesting, which is not an easy thing to do. But if you can pull it off, then that shows a lot.
Right. That's awesome. I mean, and then like I don't know, you talked a lot about, turning in work. So does is applications not a common thing for this field, or is it literally just sending out your information to people?
Yeah, I feel like from my experience, it's been you send over your resume, and if you have work, you send the work that's attached to it. I haven't really seen a lot of like application forms that people do. You know, um, but that's not to say that that doesn't happen at some point in the process. But, some people do it at the beginning, other people do it kind of after they've collected everything. Oh, can you fill out this information? So
Mhm.
it just depends on the company and how they run things. But from what I've seen, it's mostly sending in a resume and your work, and kind of doing a lot of research on who you're sending it to. Like, you don't want to send it to the wrong person. They might not care and just ignore it, or you know trying to figure out which avenue. Um, and that might be reaching out to them at first and just saying, "Hey, I'd like to send in my resume. Who could I send that to? Where's a good place to start?"
Right. I mean, what are the biggest like obstacles and challenges as well that are like happening with people in your field?
Oh, obstacles and challenges. I mean, I feel like I can talk about us specifically. Like, we being a small company, we don't. It's really hard to kind of break into that, getting hired. And I'm not sure, but I imagine that it's the same for a lot of other small companies. Like, you know, they can only hire so many people at a time, and it's not like they have floors with designers to do all this stuff. So I feel like that's the biggest one is like there are probably a lot of people that I would like to work with and I would love to bring on. I just don't have the capacity or the space for them right now. So
I mean, what's the difference between working for like small companies and big companies? And what do you think people should like look out for more often?
well, I haven't actually worked for a large company, so I can only, talk about what I perceive a large company to be like, or what I know from other friends and colleagues that work at large companies. I mean, there are pros and cons. Like, a large company probably has, great perks and benefits and parking and like all kinds of stuff like that. And small companies might not have as many, or they might not be as big. But your trade-off is, if you're at a small company, you're more involved with the work and you're more involved with the project, and you have I feel like a better way to kind of like make your own path and like take
Hmm.
responsibility, as opposed to kind of like waiting for somebody to review you and make sure you've done X, Y, and Z before you can move on. So um, the other thing is like small companies. I feel like you have to wear a lot of hats, and that doesn't work for some people. Some people want to do what they came to focus on, um, and don't want to be, bothered with some of the other stuff. And other people like the variety and like mixing things up and having their days be different from day to day. So you kind of have to, you know, figure out what works for you, and then you can decide, is a larger company, medium-sized company, or a small company going to be a good fit for me.
Right. Right. And then for our last question from the audience, they said, what websites or platforms are most important for small businesses to manage? Is responding to customer reviews important, or how does that process sort of work?
Um, I mean, like for the company's website, or
Yeah, like I remember you saying earlier, about your social media that you guys aren't really that active, So it's sort of like, how do you like manage all of that, or how do you decide, that that's not like what you want to focus on? And then the second part is, how do you respond to customer reviews?
um, well, yeah, customer reviews are important to everybody. You don't ever want to have any, bad marks, and you just want to be able to, explain yourself to them or fix the problem, whatever it is. That's kind of like, the client or the customer is always right. But you also want to be able to um, kind of stand your ground too, and like stand behind some of the things you did. So like one of the reasons that we don't push a lot of social media is because we don't have the capacity. And so one of the things that we decided to do as a company was that, like, um, we're not going to post regularly. We're going to post when we can manage what we can do. And then, we have a document that kind of lays out, and we do this for our clients, like what the tone of your social or your website should be. So is it informational only, or is it kind of, free spirit, all those different things. And they vary from client to client. And so you give them kind of an outline or a guideline to follow, and you do your best to kind of fit in that. It's not always going to exactly fit that way. But you stick to it as best as you can.
For sure. And then, are there any like last comments that you wanted sort of talk about, that you didn't get to talk about already, or any last minute advice?
Um, Last minute advice. I just like keep trying. Don't give up. It's a tough, rough world out there. Um, but you'll find your place, and it'll it'll be an interesting ride. It'll make for a great adventure and a great story. And just, you know, be you, and be true to yourself.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Um, so this is the end of our virtual talks. Thank you so much for coming. We really enjoyed you. You spent a lot of nuggets. So thank you so much. They're very helpful. And if you guys want to hear more talks like this, you could come to our next talk, which will be next Thursday at the same time at 1 p.m. We're always bringing in awesome people to talk about different things that are happening in the creative industry, from like regular creatives who are doing like on the ground work, or more like Marissa, who's doing, who's the director of operations. So make sure you tune in next week for the call. Thank you all for tuning in.
Thank you
Bye.
so much. It was fun.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.